Hi, everyone. I'm Elaine Quijano in for Tanya Rivero. Thanks for joining us. Multiple wildfires in California are leaving a path of destruction, and officials say it could.
Hello, today I present to you an extremely attractive application for music lovers. It's completely free. You can listen to music online or download unlimited music to use whenever you don't have internet. The powerful search function helps you find anything you want. Trust me. It's hard not to find what you're looking for because the search function is really powerful. Application download link is attached in the description of the video. I'm pretty sure you'll like it. Thanks.
Be weeks before the flames stop. Here is a look at 4 areas in Northern California hit hard by the Dixie and River fires. Firefighters believe calmer temperatures this weekend could help slow the spread. Thousands of people are displaced from their homes and hundreds of buildings are in ruins. No town has been hit harder than Greenville. The Dixie Fire leveled the historic mountain town of about 1,100 residents. Many of the structures destroyed there were more than 100 years old. I want to bring in Congressman Doug LaMalfa. He's a Republican serving California's 1st District, which includes Greenville. He joins us from Oroville, California. Representative LaMalfa, welcome. Thanks very much for joining us.
Appreciate you covering this.
So you posted a very emotional video to Facebook after learning of the loss of Greenville. And in it you say we have to stop the, quote, inattention to what is obvious and that people in government, quote, haven't gotten it done. What specifically do you want to see your colleagues in Congress get done to fight these fires? And what does your district need right now from both Sacramento and D.C. to contain these fires?
Well, the immediate need, of course, will be aid that might come through FEMA and our California Office of Emergency Services for the people that have been displaced, and the immediate cleanup that would be needed. But the longer-term question you ask, Elaine, is that what are we going to do about our forest conditions, the managing the forest? You know, the fire is normally you would just see mountains behind me in my background. I'm on my farm right now, and it's obscured by all the smoke. It's just happening right up there, about 70 miles as the crow flies. We have to do something with forest management that is effective. We've had decades of forest growth. You know, the Smokey the Bear method put in 100 years ago is it's good intent, but we're not doing the things that we're getting out there, removing forest material. That's the overgrowth we have in the forest is what's making it impossible to put fire out. We need thinning around the communities. We need fire breaks. We need the forest stands to be more like 60 trees per acre instead of 500 trees per acre. It creates its own drought situation by having way too much overcrowding of forest foliage there. And so, and I know there's a lot of people concerned that we guys are going to clear cut. No, it doesn't mean clear cutting. It means thinning. It means effective management that is much different than what we're talking about 150 years ago when there was clear cutting, when there was hydraulic mining and all those bad things that used to happen. So we need folks to get on our side. We're going to have to do controlled burns during the cold part of the season, November and December, that takes care of the slash and the material that isn't big trees. It's at the bottom. That's what nature used to do. And we need to emulate that with that management. So it isn't about just cutting every tree or, turning it all loose on big timber. That's a lot of what our, urban friends think what will happen out here. And the environmental groups try and whip that for fundraising and membership. And really, it's killing us out here. And we've got to do better because I've lost 3 towns in the last couple of years, and these people all have to be somewhere else. And these are permanent scars on us here.
I want to ask you more about strategy in just a moment, but I'm wondering, what have you heard from constituents impacted by these fires, and where can they go to get assistance?
We're trying to help coordinate. I mean, it's also new now for the town of Greenville that and the fire's moving so rapidly during the last couple of days during these high wind events, the red flag warnings. They've had, our Forest Service and our CAL FIRE on the ground, they've done a tremendous job of setting up defensive lines, dozering and back burns against that. They do late at night, which is controllable in order to have a black zone the fire to burn to can stop. But it's impossible when we had the wind we had on Wednesday and Thursday. Thank goodness the wind has largely stopped and they're able to make a new defense there. So as far as what people need, we're trying to help coordinate, and the donations are greatly appreciated. Probably the easiest is cash donations, but there's going to be food needed, maybe some clothing, but we've had so many fires and disasters here in Northern California that people are already kind of geared towards helping that. And sometimes it's just amazing how much they're willing to help. But it needs to be coordinated. We're working with Plumas County on that, on where they can receive materials and then have what is actually the most helpful, most needed. But it's all appreciated, and people are so giving. So as we know, the simplest thing is cash donations and the credit cards, the gift cards, things like that would help in the immediate future. But please pay attention. We'll help coordinate on how that can go forward farther. But they need places to stay and to be displaced to. The town of Susanville is absorbing folks. Chester is a town that was taking people, but it's under threat right now. We think today it'll be maybe better because of the way the fires shifted. So, and we still have towns under the gun. Town of Westwood, town of Crescent Mills. They're just little tiny burgs, but they're a big deal to us up here, and it's very important to the people that live there.
So you serve as ranking member on the House Agriculture Subcommittee on Conservation and Forestry. And this week you told our CBS Sacramento station that you've negotiated promises from the incoming head of the U.S. Forest Service on changing its approach to fighting fires. You laid out just a moment ago some of the changes in the strategy that you'd like to see, primarily the thinning out of these forests. And you talked about the resistance you've encountered. I'm wondering what your constituents feel about the way in which the forests have been managed there by the U.S. Forest Service.
Well, to put it bluntly, they're really angry. They're tired of this. A fire just 15 miles east of me last year. It didn't have to happen the way it did. We had grant funding available to do what we call our fire safe councils, to go out and do pre-work to thin areas around towns of like Feather Falls and Berry Creek, which largely don't exist anymore. And so people are really angry because they don't feel like people are understanding at the top level of the bureaucracy. This is not the firefighters at all. The firefighters are doing amazing jobs. Our hot shots are people on the ground, but they need to be given the tools and the go-ahead to do what needs to be done, not just during fire season, but during the off season. It's where it's going to make the most difference. When you can make these buffer zones where trees are thinned out. The forest, when it goes wild, you can't even see through it more than 100 feet. There's so much dense foliage there, and that's what nature used to do naturally with fire. The Native Americans used to even do that when they would leave an area for the winter and go down to the lower lands. They would light that, and nature's way, not always perfect, but in the wintertime, leading into winter, it would burn that the pine needles and the brush and the small stuff that isn't good. The big trees have a defense mechanism in their size against small, cooler, slower moving fires. But when it's up in the crowns, up on top, you can't stop it. And as I saw yesterday, I was at Canyondam yesterday, 5 minutes before the town of Canyondam went up with our fire officials there. And, they were comfortable with the situation. We didn't want to put anybody in danger or take chances, but they said, we got to go, because Canyondam just minutes later was gone. And so, but when you see that ominous fire coming, I wouldn't want any firefighter to think that they have to stand in front of that, because that orange flame was just overwhelming. The wind and the sound, it'll blow your mind if you were able to live it. I have video that I took of that, and I want to share with folks, just not for drama, but for illustrating what it is. And so there might be critics of the firefighters saying like, well, why aren't they there? Because it's so overwhelming. We have decades of fuel out there, and it's driving its own weather. It's driving the material to be so dry that they're telling me it's a factor of 99. 99% of embers moving down the line would cause more fires, and it's that dry. The material is so dry, and with the wind going there, it makes it nearly impossible until the wind changes. And
the pictures really are haunting, Congressman. And before we let you go, I wonder what you would say to folks who would point to some scientific data that suggests man-made climate change, human-driven climate change, is a contributing factor to the intensity of these fires that we're seeing now in California. What's your response to that?
Yeah, I knew the climate change question would have to come up. And really, I don't want to debate how it's happening, because I think there's a lot of data that still needs to be gathered on how the climate, how weather patterns shift over time, over decades, over millennia. But what is it we're going to do about it? And that means we can proactively do something right now, this year, next year, and not wait for the climate to somehow change by people not driving cars anymore or something like that, or having power plants or what have you. We need to do the work out in the forest that we can do. It puts people to work. The United States is the #2 importer of wood in the world. Why are we importing wood? paper products that we use. Certainly Congress puts out plenty of paper. This product needs to be taken by here, employ these people, and get the fire safety that would come from a thin forest and go the right direction. That's the waste material can be used to generate electricity with 99.9% cleaner than wildfire power plants, instead of relying on wind machines and solar panels that you have to wait for the sun or the wind to blow. So, there's a lot to this equation. I'm not here to fight over what climate change really means, what man's part is versus nature and all that. We have to do something about this. California's out of water. We need to store more water and build more projects that hold water. And our forests obviously are killing towns and displacing people and killing their hope, because we're not doing the work that needs to be done. That's good ecological work. We're not going to cut every tree from here to Oregon. It's about thinning and about being smart about this.
Representative Doug LaMalfa of California, I know this is a really difficult time for you and your constituents. We certainly wish you all the best. Thanks very much for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you, Elaine.